My husband's secretary got pregnant with twins, and my mother-in-law offered me $120 million to leave. I took the money and moved to Sydney. On my ex-husband's wedding day, he received the paternity test results for my quadruplets and completely broke down. $120 million in cash. Sign the divorce papers and disappear for good. My mother-in-law slammed the bank card down on the table. Behind her, Chloe stood with a smug smile, gently stroking her pregnant belly. I signed my name without a second thought, turned around, and caught a flight to Sydney. After 6 years of marriage, I was being kicked to the curb for being infertile, walking away with nothing but an astronomical payout. On the day of his new wedding, an overseas courier delivered a package. Spencer ripped it open and saw quadruplet paternity test report. The color instantly drained from his face. His ex-wife, the one he thought was barren, was pregnant with his flesh and blood. Everything that happened was destined from the exact moment we divorced. 01. The root of all this started on a muggy afternoon 4 months ago. I was carefully tidying up Spencer's messy study, organizing his scattered documents into neat categories. Outside, the harsh summer sun filtered through the sheer curtains, casting mottled shadows on the hardwood floor. My phone suddenly rang. The caller ID flashed, mother-in-law. Through the receiver came Eleanor's usual, unquestionable tone. Peyton, are you home? I'm coming over right now. We have something very important to discuss. I gave a soft sound of agreement, but a chill inexplicably washed over me. Eleanor rarely visited on her own accord, and she almost never spoke with such severe formality. My intuition told me something was very wrong. Half an hour later, the doorbell rang right on cue. I opened the door to find my mother-in-law standing there with a tight, rigid expression. Behind her stood a stranger I had never seen before. The woman looked to be in her mid-20s. She had a pretty, delicate face with flawless light makeup and wore an ivory-white dress. The waistline was tailored to be exceptionally loose, perfectly concealing a slight bump in her abdomen. Come in. I stepped aside, maintaining my usual polite demeanor. This is Chloe, Eleanor said, walking into the living room. Her tone was stiff. She is the executive secretary at Spencer's company. Her work performance is outstanding. The woman named Chloe gave me a faint smile, but there was a barely perceptible glint of triumph hidden in her eyes. Hi, Peyton. Mr. Davis talks about you all the time. He always says you run the house perfectly and are an incredibly devoted wife. I didn't respond. I simply turned, went to the kitchen, brewed 2 cups of green tea, and set them on the coffee table in front of them before taking a seat in the armchair opposite. The air in the living room seemed to freeze instantly. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioning. Peyton, I'm here today to discuss a major issue concerning the future of the Davis family. Eleanor cut straight to the chase without any preamble. She pointed at Chloe beside her. Chloe is pregnant. My fingers tightened slightly around my teacup. The scalding heat seeped through the ceramic, but my facial expression remained entirely unreadable. Congratulations, I said, looking up at Chloe. My tone was as flat as if we were discussing the weather. And who might the father be? It's Spencer. Chloe's hand rested gently on her lower belly, her voice laced with unconcealed bragging. I'm almost 7 months along. We had an ultrasound last week, and the doctor said it's boy-girl twins. Both babies are perfectly healthy. As she spoke, she pulled a neatly folded medical report from her designer handbag and slid it across the table toward me. I picked it up. The ultrasound scan clearly showed the silhouettes of 2 fetuses nestled together. Under the diagnosis section, it read, viable intrauterine twin pregnancy, 1 male, 1 female. Does Spencer know about this? I asked, my voice terrifyingly calm. Of course he knows, Eleanor interjected, her tone filled with unapologetic righteousness. To be completely honest, this was my idea to begin with. Spencer was a bit hesitant at first, but now he's fully accepted it. After all, this is the Davis family bloodline. We can't afford any mistakes. She paused, her eyes locking onto my face as she continued, Peyton, you and Spencer have been married for 6 years, and your stomach hasn't shown a single sign of life. How many specialists have we taken you to? Western medicine, holistic doctors, domestic and international experts. We've tried every remedy and spent God knows how much money. And the result? How much longer do you expect the Davis family to wait? I remained silent, just looking at her quietly. The fact that Chloe is carrying twins is a blessing from above. Eleanor's tone grew even harsher. You know Spencer is an only child. He is the sole male heir of this family, and our legacy absolutely cannot die with my generation. With these two children, we finally have hope. It's a miracle for our family line. And your point is? I finally broke the silence. My point is, I expect you to see the bigger picture and step aside gracefully, Eleanor said, direct and ruthless. Let's proceed with a divorce. The Davis family won't treat you unfairly. We'll give you a severance substantial enough to ensure you never have to worry about money for the rest of your life. Chloe couldn't wait to chime in, her voice sickeningly sweet. Peyton, honestly, Spencer, and I have been together for over 3 years. We truly love each other, but since he was already married, we had to be careful. To tell you the truth, I didn't intentionally set out to ruin your marriage. It's just that you couldn't keep your husband's heart. Look at me, I got pregnant so easily, and with twins no less. But you? 6 years and absolutely nothing to show for it. If a woman can't even fulfill the most basic duty of continuing the family line, what right does she have to occupy the position of Mrs. Davis? Her words were sharp as knives, carving into my heart syllable by syllable. But Eleanor merely took a sip of her tea, making no effort to stop her. It was clear she tacitly approved of, or even encouraged, the disrespect. I took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the anger and bitterness churning in my chest. Over 3 years? That meant Spencer had been cheating on me since our 3rd year of marriage. And I, like an absolute fool, had been kept in the dark for 3 whole years, still deeply blaming myself for not being able to conceive, running to every doctor imaginable and swallowing down countless bitter medications. I understand, I said slowly, my throat feeling dry. Please give me a few days to think it over. What is there to think about? Chloe's patience seemed to wear thin, a hint of annoyance creeping into her voice. Peyton, don't tell me you're still holding out hope for him? His heart and eyes are entirely fixed on me and the baby's in my belly now. Even if you drag this out and refuse to sign, you'll only be humiliating yourself. Besides, given your age and situation, if you leave the Davis family, it won't be that easy to find a decent man to settle down with, will it? Chloe. Eleanor interrupted with feigned reprimand, then turned to me, putting on a mask of earnest advice. Peyton, you're a smart girl. You know what's best for everyone. I'll give you 4 days. In 4 days, I expect your answer. After they left, I was the only one remaining in the massive house. The setting sun cast a dim, amber glow across the living room. I stared at the glaring ultrasound scan on the coffee table, unmoving for a long time. Finally, I picked up my phone and dialed Spencer's number. It rang more than 10 times before he picked up. His slightly exhausted voice came through the receiver. Hey, Peyton, what's up? Your mother was just here, I said, point blank. She brought your secretary, Chloe, and your unborn boy-girl twins. 02. A long silence fell over the other end of the line. I could only hear his faint breathing. Peyton, Spencer stammered, seemingly at a loss for how to explain. You don't need to explain, I cut him off, my voice as cold as frost. I just want to know what exactly you're planning to do now. Another bout of silence passed before he finally spoke, a trace of undetectable guilt in his voice. I'm sorry. I failed you in all of this. Is a simple, I'm sorry, supposed to cut it? I let out a light, bitter laugh. Spencer, we've been married for 6 years. You've been cheating on me for over 3. Now your mistress is pregnant with your kids, and your entire family is ganging up to force me out, and all you have to say is, I'm sorry. I never expected things to go this far. His voice carried a sense of helplessness. I admit, Chloe and I do have real feelings for each other. She's young, vibrant, and understanding. I feel relaxed when I'm with her. And she's pregnant, with twins. You know how badly my mom has wanted a grandchild for years. She would never give up on these 2 babies. And what about me? I finally asked the question, my voice trembling slightly. Spencer, what did all my sacrifices over the last 6 years mean to you? You are a good wife. You're quiet, virtuous, and you take great care of the house. My parents always liked you. His words began to sound evasive. But some things just can't be forced. Chloe's pregnancy started as an accident, but since the babies are here and my mom insists on keeping them, my hands are tied. This is too important to the Davis family. I'm an only child. Continuing the bloodline is my responsibility. So, you guys had this planned all along, didn't you? My tone was terrifyingly calm. Kick me out. Make room for her. I'm not kicking you out, Peyton. Spencer tried to sound sincere. My mom said that as long as you agree to a divorce, we'll give you a very substantial payout to ensure you live a life of luxury. You won't ever have to worry about money. How much? I asked directly. $60 million, he said. In cash. Plus, we'll transfer the title of the house you're living in now to your name. This is the utmost sincerity my family can offer. I laughed. The sound echoed in the empty living room, dripping with heavy irony. $60 million? Your family is far too generous. Peyton, you know that amount of money is nothing to our family. Spencer's tone took on a coaxing edge. This is more than enough for you to live incredibly well. You can go do whatever you want, travel the world, invest, or just start a brand new life. Not enough, I interrupted him decisively. He was clearly stunned. What? I said, $60 million is not enough. I looked out the window at the thickening night sky, my eyes growing exceptionally resolute. Spencer, do you really think $60 million can buy out 6 years of my youth, offset everything I've given up, and compensate for the trauma of your entire family betraying me? Then how much do you want? His voice dropped, laced with impatience and probing. $120 million, I enunciated the number clearly. All in cash. No real estate, no stocks, no other assets. Just pure cash, paid in lump sums. Spencer gasped over the phone, his voice suddenly spiking. $120 million. Peyton, are you insane? That's impossible. Nothing is impossible, I replied, my tone calm but unyielding. You want to marry Chloe? You want her to birth the heirs to your family empire? Then I require $120 million as compensation for my 6 years. That is my bottom line and my only condition. If you don't agree, then we'll drag this out. If I'm miserable, none of you will get what you want either. I need to discuss this with my mother, he said, sounding utterly exhausted. Fine. I stood up. I'll give you 4 days, too. In 4 days, I want a definitive answer. Hanging up the phone, I walked back to the bedroom. From the bottom drawer of my nightstand, I pulled out a plain jewelry box. I opened the lid. Neatly lined up inside were 4 pregnancy tests from different brands. In the display window of every single one, there were 2 distinct, unmistakable pink lines. I had discovered I was pregnant a little over 2 weeks ago. That morning, I was woken up by a sudden, violent wave of nausea. I rushed to the bathroom and threw up everything in my stomach. When the nausea subsided, a thought violently struck my mind. I immediately went downstairs to the pharmacy and bought pregnancy tests. When I saw the bright 2 lines on the first stick, I couldn't believe it. I took 3 more consecutively. The results were identical. I booked an appointment at the best private hospital in the city immediately. Blood work. Ultrasound. The female doctor wearing glasses looked at the lab results and the monitor, a warm smile spreading across her face. Congratulations, Mrs. Davis. You're pregnant. How far along? I asked nervously, my heart pounding like a drum. Based on your HCG blood levels and the ultrasound, you're about 10 weeks along. The doctor pointed to a few small glowing dots on the screen, a hint of awe in her voice. And look here and here. Your case is quite extraordinary. You have a multiple pregnancy. Multiple? My breath hitched. Yes. The doctor adjusted the screen angle, pointing at the tiny, pulsating lights. Right now, we can clearly see 3 gestational sacs, and fetal heartbeats have been detected in all of them. But looking closer, right here, there appears to be a very faint, but definite 4th heartbeat. We highly suspect quadruplets. All 4 babies are currently showing excellent developmental markers. She paused, her expression growing a bit more serious. However, Mrs. Davis, the risks associated with higher-order multiples are significantly greater than a singleton pregnancy, and it takes a massive toll on the mother's body. You must strictly adhere to regular prenatal checkups to closely monitor your health and the baby's. Additionally, I recommend you inform your family as soon as possible so they can prepare accordingly. When I walked out of the hospital, the afternoon sun was blinding. I gripped the ultrasound scan showing the signs of 4 tiny lives, my heart a complex, unspeakable mix of emotions. I was pregnant, and with an incredibly rare set of quadruplets. Yet my husband was currently scheming with another woman, who was pregnant with twins, on how to kick me out of the house. 03. On the night of the 3rd day, Spencer came home. He looked terrible. Deep, dark circles hung under his eyes. It was clear the negotiation process with his mother had been long and grueling. I talked to my mom, he said, collapsing heavily onto the sofa and rubbing his temples. $120 million in pure cash is simply too much. It puts immense pressure on the company's liquidity. The absolute limit is $100 million. Then the deal is off. My reply was crisp and final, leaving zero room for negotiation. Peyton, don't push your luck. His temper flared instantly, his voice rising. $100 million. Do you have any idea how much money that is? People couldn't make that in multiple lifetimes. And you're still not satisfied. For the Davis family, this isn't exactly a crippling number. I looked at him calmly, a mocking curve forming on my lips. Spencer, Chloe is carrying the boy-girl miracle your family has wanted for years. They're the hope for your legacy. The value of those 2 kids to your family is worth far more than $120 million, isn't it? Using $120 million to buy my signature, buy domestic peace, and buy your family's future perfection is a bargain. He choked on my words, opening his mouth but failing to form an immediate rebuttal. Besides, I continued, my voice steady but carrying invisible weight, if I refuse to divorce, what can you do? File a lawsuit? Bigamy might be hard to prove, but marital infidelity, cohabiting with someone else, and fathering illegitimate children, if those facts get dragged into court or leaked to the media, what impact do you think that will have on Davis Corporation's reputation? How will it affect your stock prices? Is your carefully crafted image as the brilliant young executive with a perfect family worth the remaining $20 million? Are you threatening me? Spencer's face turned ashen, rage burning in his eyes. It's not a threat. It's a negotiation laid bare on the table. I met his gaze without backing down. When a marriage reaches this point, it's essentially just a transaction. Since the transaction is ending, naturally, we need to settle the accounts and take our rightful shares. Spencer's chest heaved as he tried to control his emotions. After a long moment, he said darkly, I need to discuss this with my mom again. I can't just make the call. Fine. I'll wait. I nodded. Still 4 days. If I don't get the answer I want in 4 days, I will pretend none of this ever happened, and we will carry on with our lives. Though, by then, Chloe's babies will keep growing, and your family will be desperate to legitimize them. I doubt you're the ones who can afford to wait. The next afternoon, Eleanor showed up again alone. Her face was even darker than yesterday. She looked at me with blatant dissatisfaction and scrutiny. Peyton, Spencer told me about your conditions. She sat on the sofa, her spine ramrod straight. $120 million in cash. You certainly have nerve. The Davis family has money, but we aren't suckers to be squeezed dry. Eleanor, I said, my tone detached and calm, this $120 million is the compensation I am owed. I married into this family 6 years ago. I respected you, took care of my husband, and managed every aspect of this household without a single complaint. I gave up a promising career and distanced myself from my friends and family, pouring all my energy into running this home. Now, you expect me to walk away with nothing for the sake of another woman and her unborn kids. Don't I deserve a price that secures the rest of my life and offers a little solace for the trauma? You think $100 million isn't enough to secure the rest of your life? Eleanor's brow furrowed tightly. That money is enough for you to live like top-tier royalty anywhere in the world. It's not enough. My stance didn't soften an inch. Furthermore, I have an additional condition. Once the $120 million clears, I will immediately begin the immigration process and leave the country forever. I will cut all ties with the Davis family and never appear in front of any of you again. Immigrate. Eleanor was caught off guard, a flash of confusion and suspicion crossing her eyes. Where are you going? Sydney, Australia, I answered clearly. I'll sever every legal and financial tie to this place and completely vanish from your lives. This is best for everyone. You won't have to worry about me coming back to harass you, and you won't have to worry about me showing up at inappropriate places to ruin the harmony of your new family. Eleanor fell silent, her sharp eyes scanning my face back and forth as if trying to pierce through my skin to see my true intentions. $120 million in cash, deposited within a week, and then you leave the country immediately, never to return, and never interfere in the Davis family's affairs in any way. She repeated the terms to confirm, emphasizing every word. Correct. I nodded firmly. I am even willing to sign the strictest non-disclosure agreement, promising never to reveal the true reason for the divorce to the public. You can feed the press whatever excuse you want, irreconcilable differences, an amicable split. I won't utter a single word of contradiction. Fine. Eleanor seemed to weigh the pros and cons, finally spitting out the word. I agree. But listen to me carefully, Peyton. Her tone turned sharply severe. Once you take this $120 million, you and the Davis family are cut clean. Completely. No matter what happens in the future, you are not allowed to come crawling back to Spencer, and you absolutely cannot parade around using the title of the former Mrs. Davis. Also, we will sign legally binding NDAs and letters of commitment. If you violate any of the clauses, not only will you have to return double the amount, but you'll also face legal consequences. Agreed, I accepted without hesitation. I also have one requirement. The money will be paid in 2 installments. Within 3 days of signing the agreement, the first $60 million must be wired to my designated overseas account. On the day I finalize the divorce and get the final decree in hand, the remaining $60 million must be paid in full immediately. Why split it in 2? Eleanor's eyes immediately filled with suspicion. Are you trying to pull a fast one? I just need security, I said frankly. The first payment will cover my relocation arrangements, visas, flights, booking a residence, and securing a lawyer over there. Once everything is set, I will fulfill my end of the bargain, sign the papers, and leave. It's the fairest approach for both sides. 04. Eleanor stared at me intensely for a long time before slowly nodding. Fine. We'll do it your way. 3 days later, the Davis family's private attorneys arrived at the house with a thick stack of documents. Alongside the standard divorce settlement were property division waivers and a highly restrictive non-disclosure agreement. I read through every single clause, word by word, confirming that everything matched our prior agreement without any hidden traps. Then, with the lawyers as witnesses, I solemnly signed the name Peyton. Spencer signed next. His expression was impossible to read, a messy cocktail of guilt, exhaustion, and relief. The first $60 million will be wired to your designated account within 72 hours, Eleanor said, devoid of any emotion. In 7 days, you and Spencer will go to the courthouse to finalize the divorce. The moment it's filed and you have the decree in hand, the remaining $60 million will hit your account. Okay. I capped my pen, refusing to say another word. Over the next 7 days, operating entirely under the radar, I efficiently and meticulously arranged everything. Through emails and international calls, I reached out to a highly reputable private maternity hospital in Sydney and a Chinese-American attorney specializing in cross-border affairs. I booked detailed prenatal checkups and post-care services, making sure to specifically consult them on the protocols and care plans for a higher-order multiple pregnancy. I consulted professional immigration advisors and initiated a fast-track investor visa application, ensuring I would seamlessly secure long-term residency. I quietly liquidated all my personal assets that had nothing to do with the Davis family, including a small apartment I bought before the marriage and a few mutual funds, consolidating all my capital. I also carefully prepared a special document, sealing it inside a heavy-duty fireproof envelope and stamping the flap with wax. I handed this envelope to someone I trusted completely, Julian, a college friend who is now a partner at a prominent law firm. 2 months from now, on this exact date, I need you to ensure this envelope is delivered via a secure international courier to this address. I handed him a slip of paper with Spencer's corporate address and his wedding date on it, my expression dead serious. The date and the recipient must not be wrong. He has to sign for it personally. Julian looked at the slip of paper, then at my solemn face. Though his eyes were full of questions, he ultimately gave a firm nod. Don't worry, Peyton. I'll get it done. During those 7 days, Chloe strutted over to the house one more time. She was wearing a pastel pink maternity dress. Her belly was noticeably larger than the last time we met, and she was glowing. Peyton, I heard you finally came to your senses? She smiled until her eyes were crescents, the smugness practically spilling out of her voice. A very smart choice. Dragging this out wouldn't do anyone any good, right? I never engage in pointless entanglements. My tone remained flat. Of course. You're a smart woman, Peyton. Chloe paced around the living room, her eyes greedily scanning the expensive decor. By the way, when do you plan on moving out? I want to move in early so I can properly decorate the nursery. After all, this is going to be the home for me, Spencer, and our babies. Very soon, I said. As soon as the divorce is finalized, I'll move out immediately. Oh? Where to? Moving back in with your parents, she asked with feigned casualness, though her eyes were probing. No, I'm going to Australia, I answered. Wow, Australia is wonderful. Beautiful environment, great place to live. Chloe put on a dreamy expression. Once I deliver the babies and recover, I'll have Spencer take me there for a vacation so we can really enjoy it. I'm sure you'll get the chance, I said softly, though my heart was a glacier of irony. She looked at me, hesitating for a moment, before putting on an act of fake sympathy. Peyton, do you hate me? I mean, since Spencer and I ended up together. You mean, since you inserted yourself into our marriage and are now taking my place? I finished her sentence for her. I looked at her and gave a small, light laugh. Hate? Maybe I did at one point. But hate doesn't change the facts. Spencer chose you, and he chose your children. That means in his heart, this home, and I ceased to matter a long time ago. Since that's the case, why humiliate myself? Walking away with my dignity intact is what's best for me and for everyone. I am so glad you see it that way, Peyton. Chloe visibly relaxed, her smile growing even brighter. Honestly, don't be too sad. Sometimes, it's just about fate and capability between people. I guess I just fit what Spencer and his family need right now better than you did. Looking at her parading around like a victor, I felt no ripples in my heart, only a borderline pitiful sense of mockery. She thought she had won. She thought getting pregnant with twins meant she was holding an unbeatable trump card. She thought kicking me out of the house meant she could rest easy. She would never know that everything she possessed was a castle built on quicksand. And the real storm had yet to arrive. The afternoon 7 days later was bright and sunny. Spencer and I sat side by side on the waiting chairs at the county clerk's office. An empty seat separated us. We didn't exchange a single word, as silent as strangers. He looked down, scrolling on his phone, while I quietly stared out the window. The sunlight stretched our shadows out long, but they never intersected. Mr. Spencer Davis, Miss Peyton. The clerk's voice broke the silence. Please step up to window 3. We stood up, walking to the window one after another, and handed over all our paperwork. The middle-aged woman processing our files looked at us and asked the routine question, are both parties consenting to this divorce? Have all matters regarding property division and spousal support been resolved? Yes, everything is settled, we answered in unison, our tones devoid of emotion. All right then, please sign here to confirm. She pushed several documents toward us. I picked up the pen and signed my name on the designated line. My handwriting was steady, without a single tremor. Spencer signed quickly as well, his movements almost rushed. Shortly after, copies of the final divorce decree were handed to us. This little piece of paper, a document meant to record public records, had now become the epitaph burying a marriage. It was a massive irony. Peyton. As we walked out of the courthouse, Spencer suddenly called my name. His voice was a bit dry. Are you really moving to Australia? You're never coming back. Yeah. I nodded. My flight is tonight. It's already booked. Well, take care of yourself. His voice was mixed with a complex emotion, as if he had things to say but didn't know how to begin. You too. I turned to leave. Wait. He called out to me again. His eyes held an unmistakable confusion and a hint of resentment. Peyton, do you really feel absolutely nothing? We lived together for 6 years. Even if you were just raising a pet, you'd have some emotional attachment. Are you really this clean and ruthless? Just take the money and leave. I stopped and looked back at him. The afternoon sun was glaring, making me squint slightly. Spencer, what exactly do you expect me to feel? My voice was perfectly flat. Weep uncontrollably? Fall to my knees and beg you to come back? Or throw a massive tantrum, refuse to sign, make a public scene, and ultimately get tossed out like garbage by you and your family anyway? He was stunned by my response. Whether I'm sad or not doesn't change the fact that you cheated on me for over 3 years. Another woman is pregnant with your kids, and your entire family sided with her to force me out, I continued. Since the outcome was already written, does it make a difference whether the process was swift or dragged through the mud? At least now, I got the compensation I deserved and can start a new life. And your family got the heirs you've been dreaming of, so you can all be perfect. We just made the choices that were most beneficial to ourselves. He opened his mouth. The words, I'm sorry, seemed to reach his lips again, but ultimately, he didn't say them. You don't need to apologize anymore, I waved a hand dismissively. We are even. From now on, treat Chloe and your kids well, and I will live my own life well. There is nothing left between us. With that, I didn't look back again, walking straight to the taxi waiting by the curb. When I returned to the mansion that used to be called home, my luggage was already packed. I only took a few comfortable, everyday outfits, essential documents, medical records, my laptop, and the black combination briefcase holding all my hope. As for the jewelry, designer bags, and haute couture, those were accessories of my time as Mrs. Davis. Now that the title was gone, they had lost all meaning to me. At exactly 5 p.m., my phone screen lit up with a deposit notification text from the bank. The second $60 million had arrived right on time. Combined with the first payment, $120 million in cash. Not a penny less. I looked at that long string of numbers, my heart exceptionally calm, and quickly used mobile banking to wire all the funds in batches to multiple secure accounts I had opened in Sydney. 05. At 6:30 p.m., dragging my lightweight suitcase, I took one final look around the place I had lived for 6 years. The crystal chandelier was still dazzling, the expensive Persian rugs still soft, and the air still seemed to hold the scent of yesterday, but nothing here had anything to do with me anymore. I felt absolutely zero lingering attachment. I turned around, closed the door, and left. To my surprise, Spencer actually showed up at the International Departures terminal at the airport. Peyton. He walked up, holding a shopping bag printed with a luxury brand logo. This is for you. Consider it a small token of my appreciation. I didn't take it. I just looked at him. He awkwardly retracted his hand and placed the bag by his feet. Once you get there, it's a new place and you won't know anyone. If you run into any trouble or need help, you can still reach out to me. After all, we used to be married. There won't be any need for that, I said, polite but distant. Spencer, from the moment we got the divorce decree, we became strangers. I appreciate the thought, but it's unnecessary. Us living our own lives in peace is the best possible ending. I know. A bitter smile appeared on his face. I just feel like, after all, I'm the one who failed you. No one failed anyone, I cut him off. It was a transaction. The goods and funds have been cleared. He went silent for a moment before finally asking the question he seemed to have been holding back for a long time. What are your plans after you get to Sydney? Are you just going to live alone? Settle down first, get used to the environment, I answered, my tone relaxed. I might go back to school or start a little business I enjoy. As for the future, I'll let nature take its course. The world is a big place. There are always new sights to see. That sounds good. He nodded. Take care of yourself. You too. I turned and walked toward the security checkpoint. After passing through security, I instinctively glanced back. Spencer was still standing in the same spot, gazing in my direction through the bustling crowd, his figure looking somewhat lonely and desolate. I raised my hand and gave a slight wave, a final, absolute farewell to the past 6 years, and to him. Then I turned around and never looked back. Before boarding, I stopped in the restroom of the VIP lounge. The woman in the mirror had a calm face, her eyes holding a clarity and resolve like never before. I gently placed my hand over my lower abdomen. It was still flat, but I knew 4 tiny lives were growing safely inside. My babies, I whispered softly, in a voice only I could hear. Mommy is taking you to a brand new place. There's clean air, bright sunshine, and a free future waiting for us. We don't need to rely on anyone. Mommy will use her own strength to hold up a clear sky for you. We are going to live a wonderful, incredibly happy life. The plane roared as it shot into the clouds. The city lights below gradually merged into a blurry sea of luminescence before finally disappearing beneath the cloud cover. Goodbye to the city that carried 6 years of my laughter and tears. Goodbye, Spencer. You thought you used $120 million to send away an infertile ex-wife and welcomed a new flame who could carry on your bloodline, believing your life was about to hit a new peak. But you will never know what you personally pushed away and discarded. What you thought was the finish line is merely the prologue to my revenge. The humiliation and betrayal you inflicted upon me will one day be returned to you 100-fold, in the most unexpected way possible. And that day is not far off. The day after I left, Chloe couldn't wait to boss the moving company around, hauling all her belongings into the Davis family's oceanfront mansion. Like a queen inspecting her new territory, she excitedly paced through every room, her face radiating undisguised triumph. Spencer, look at the view from the master balcony. We can drink coffee here in the mornings and watch the sunrise over the water. She clung to Spencer's arm, her voice dripping with sugar. And this spot for the nursery, it faces south, gets plenty of sunlight. It's perfect for 2 rooms, one for our boy and one for our girl. I already have the decor planned out. It's going to be so warm and gorgeous. Whatever you like. Take your time, there's no rush. Spencer patted her hand, his tone gentle, but deep in his eyes lay a faint, imperceptible exhaustion and detachment. The most important thing right now is your health and the babies. Everything else can wait. I know, don't worry. Chloe went on her tiptoes and kissed his cheek. I am going to give you the most beautiful, smartest boy-girl twins in the world. Everyone is going to be so jealous of you and of our family. Eleanor walked in, her face beaming with joy, followed by the housekeeper carrying several exquisite gift boxes. Chloe, honey, I had a friend bring these prenatal supplements and skincare products back from overseas. They're great for both mom and babies, top-tier brands, so use them with peace of mind. Eleanor took Chloe's hand and patted it affectionately. You are the hero of our family now. You absolutely cannot overwork yourself. Whatever you want to eat, whatever you need, just say the word and I'll make it happen. Thank you, Mom. You're so good to me, Chloe responded obediently, her smile radiant. That single word, Mom, made Eleanor's heart soar, the wrinkles on her face folding into a massive grin. Good, good. This is your home now, and we are going to live happily as a family. My precious grandson and granddaughter are entirely in your hands. Chloe's vanity was immensely satisfied. She felt like she had finally reached the absolute pinnacle of her life. She immediately changed her Instagram bio to "Grateful for everything, the future is bright," and began intensely posting about her perfect life on her stories. Today, a picture of the crystal chandelier in the mansion's living room. Caption: First night in the new house. Warm and bright. This is what it feels like when dreams become reality. Thankful for all the beauty in my life. Tomorrow, a photo of a dining table covered in bird's nest, sea cucumber, and other expensive delicacies. Caption: My mother-in-law sent over so many loving supplements. I'm too lucky. You babies are so spoiled, you have to grow up healthy. The day after, a close-up of Spencer's side profile, with half of her sweet, smiling face in the frame. Caption: The best kind of love, you making a fuss and him just smiling at you. Quiet, beautiful days like this. Thankful we found each other. Under every post, the likes and envious comments flooded in. Chloe is winning at life. Love, career, family, she has it all. 06. Twins. What kind of god-tier luck is this? Wishing the babies health and beauty and a safe delivery. The way Spencer looks at you is so gentle. I'm officially jealous. You have to be happy. Chloe scrolled through the comments one by one, her heart sweeter than honey, feeling more and more that her choices and tactics back then had been absolute genius. When privately chatting with her best friend, she didn't even try to hide her contempt. That Peyton woman occupied the seat but couldn't lay an egg. She should have stepped down ages ago. Look at me now, I have everything I want. What could she possibly compare to me with? She just took some cash and ran away with her tail between her legs. Good thing she knew her place. Her friend agreed through the video call. Exactly. She's definitely dying of regret right now. But you still need to be careful. After all, the way you guys handled things wasn't exactly honorable. What is there to be afraid of? Chloe interrupted carelessly. She's out of the country, she took the money, she signed the NDAs. What kind of waves could she possibly make now? I have my mother-in-law backing me, I have Spencer doting on me, and I have the golden heirs of the Davis family in my belly. My position is rock solid. No one can shake it. Around her 8th month of pregnancy, Eleanor officially began organizing the wedding. Spencer, your wedding with Chloe must be grand and magnificent. I want the whole city to know that the Davis family is welcoming Chloe through the front door in absolute glory, and that the children in her belly are the rightful, legitimate heirs to this family. Eleanor's tone carried unquestionable finality. Mom, whatever you arrange is fine, Spencer replied somewhat dismissively. He had been feeling restless lately. At night, he often dreamt of Peyton's calm eyes, waking up with his heart full of an inexplicable, irritable anxiety. Eleanor moved quickly and decisively, booking the Starlight Ballroom, the largest banquet hall at the city's top-tier Hyatt hotel. The hall was renowned for its sheer luxury and breathtaking scale. The ceilings were impossibly high, with massive crystal chandeliers hanging down like a cascading galaxy. The venue fee alone was a staggering astronomical figure. This is the place. It's grand enough, and it matches the status of the Davis family. Eleanor nodded in satisfaction. Get the invitations out immediately. Business partners, relatives, friends, anyone who's anyone needs to be invited. I want this wedding to be the most sensational event of the year. Chloe was so excited she couldn't sleep for days. She dragged Spencer around to every high-end bridal boutique in the city. She finally settled on an imported ivory satin wedding gown. The waistline featured a specialized, voluminous pleating design that perfectly accommodated her large belly, surprisingly adding a soft, maternal glow to her look. Mrs. Davis, you look absolutely stunning in this piece. Your aura is so elegant and noble, the boutique's head designer praised, circling Chloe. We've seen our fair share of pregnant brides, but it's rare to see someone blend the beauty of pregnancy with a wedding gown so flawlessly. Chloe admired herself in the mirror from every angle, her heart bursting with pride. Of course, this is the most important moment of my and Spencer's lives, witnessed by our babies. It has to be absolutely flawless. She even hired a famous photographer to shoot a set of maternity bridal photos in advance. In the photos, she leaned against Spencer's chest with a soft smile, or stood alone gently cradling her bump with lowered eyes. The soft lighting created an atmosphere overflowing with warmth and love. Spencer played along and smiled for the cameras, but even after the professional retoucher's magic, his smile still looked somewhat stiff, his eyes lacking the spark of genuine joy. The moment the retouched photos were ready, Chloe immediately selected a 9-photo grid and blasted it across all her social media platforms. The caption read, "Meeting you was the most beautiful accident of my life." Protecting you is the firmest promise of my future. Mommy and Daddy love you, our precious darlings. The comment section was once again flooded with blessings. Too beautiful. This is what love looks like at its finest. A double blessing. Wishing Mr. and Mrs. Davis a lifetime of happiness and health and safety to the twins. The wedding is going to be insanely gorgeous. Can't wait for the live photos. Chloe soaked in the envy of the masses, feeling as if she were floating in the clouds. The wedding date was set for 1 month later, at which point Chloe would be nearly 9 months pregnant. Gold-foiled wedding invitations quickly flew out in every direction. Over 700 guests were invited. In the bottom right corner of the invitation, a small line of text was deliberately added. We invite you to join us in witnessing the joy of the impending arrival of our love's greatest creation, our boy-girl twins. This line was added at Chloe's insistence. She wanted everyone to be crystal clear that she wasn't just marrying Spencer, she was marrying into the Davis family, bringing an irreplaceable contribution. Eleanor highly approved of this. It's a great addition. Let everyone know that you are the hero of our family, that you bring fortune to the Davis bloodline. Looking at that glaring line of small text, Spencer felt as if a wad of cotton was shoved down his throat, suffocating him. 5 years ago, his wedding with Peyton was at the exact same hotel, just on a much smaller scale, with only close family and friends invited. Back then, Peyton wore a simple satin gown, her smile clear and warm, as she whispered to him, "Spencer, I don't need a massive spectacle. Just being with you, with our family's blessing, makes me feel like the happiest person in the world." He had held her hand tightly, promising to give her a stable, happy future. Yet now he was throwing a wedding of extreme extravagance for another woman, and the reason was so blunt and utilitarian. He should be happy. His mother's wish was fulfilled, the Davis family had heirs, and everything seemed to be moving toward perfection. But why did his heart feel like a hollow void of confusion, shadowed by a faint, yet increasingly intense sense of dread? The night before the wedding, the Davis mansion was ablaze with lights. Everyone was making final preparations for tomorrow's grand event. Eleanor made one last personal trip to the Hyatt to confirm the details. The Starlight Ballroom had been decorated to breathtaking perfection. The color palette was champagne gold and white. Tens of thousands of Ecuadorian roses and Dutch hydrangeas, flown in fresh, created a romantic sea of flowers, their rich fragrance filling the air. The backdrop of the main stage was a massive castle structure adorned with flowers and crystal lighting. On both sides, giant LED screens played a continuous loop of Spencer and Chloe's bridal shoot and heartwarming pregnancy videos. 07. A red carpet stretched all the way from the hotel's main entrance right up to the stage, lined with twinkling fairy lights. It was opulent and hopelessly romantic. Yes, this is excellent. This is exactly the effect I wanted, regal, yet romantic and warm. Eleanor looked around and nodded in satisfaction. Tomorrow, we're hosting VIPs and the media will be here. You must ensure nothing goes wrong. There cannot be a single mistake. Rest assured, Mrs. Davis. We have dedicated staff monitoring every step of the process. This is our top-tier service, and we guarantee you and your guests will be completely satisfied, the hotel manager promised with a sycophantic smile. Back at the house, Chloe was still in the living room trying on the jewelry she would wear with her gown tomorrow, a priceless diamond necklace and earring set that sparkled blindingly under the lights. "Mom, does this set look good on me? Is it too flashy?" She twirled in front of the mirror, asking with eager anticipation. "It's beautiful. Anything my daughter-in-law wears is beautiful." Eleanor smiled so wide she couldn't close her mouth. "Tomorrow, you will be the absolute center of attention. You are supposed to shine this brightly. Let everyone see what a wonderful girl the Davis family brought home." "Thank you, Mom." Chloe happily hugged Eleanor's arm, then rubbed her belly. "I think the babies know tomorrow is Mommy and Daddy's big day, too. They've been super active tonight, kicking nonstop." "Oh my, that's my precious grandbabies getting excited." Eleanor's eyes crinkled into slits of joy. Tomorrow is a triple blessing. A phenomenal day for the Davis family. Everything is going to go perfectly smoothly. It was late at night by the time Spencer returned to the mansion from the office. He finished sending his last few urgent emails in the study, arranging his work schedule around the wedding so he could take a long leave to accompany Chloe through her delivery. Mr. Davis, here is the finalized wedding itinerary and the VIP seating chart. Please review them. His assistant placed 2 beautifully bound booklets on his desk. Spencer opened the itinerary. It was scheduled down to the minute. 10 a.m. Guest sign-in and photo ops. 10:38 a.m. Entrance of the bride and groom, a specifically chosen auspicious time. 11:08 a.m. Vow exchange and speeches from the parents. 11:28 a.m. Ring exchange and toast from the newlyweds. 12 p.m. The banquet officially begins and the first course is served. The itinerary looks fine. Spencer signed off on it and asked casually, "Has the media been taken care of? I don't want any uncontrolled press coverage. Everything is handled." The mainstream financial and fashion outlets attending are all long-term partners, and they will submit their drafts to us for review beforehand. There absolutely won't be any issues, the assistant replied. He hesitated for a second before adding, "However, Mr. Davis, this afternoon, an international courier company contacted me again to confirm that a package requiring your personal signature will be delivered to the hotel tomorrow morning. They said it was shipped from Sydney, Australia." Spencer's hand, which was flipping through the seating chart, abruptly froze. His heart felt as if an invisible fist had clenched it, leaping straight into his throat. Sydney, Australia again. Peyton. What on earth was she trying to do? She already got the money, the agreements were signed, and she had moved to the other side of the world. Why was she sending something over at a time like this? And specifically mandating it be delivered to the wedding venue, on the day of the wedding, requiring his personal signature? A chill crept up his spine, making his whole body run cold. What is it? He tried his hardest to keep his voice steady. They refused to disclose it. They only said it's a document package. The sender emphasized the highest level of privacy and time sensitivity. It must be opened personally by you at the designated time and location, otherwise, per the sender's instructions. They will resort to alternative delivery or notification methods. The assistant's voice also carried a trace of nervousness. I repeatedly confirmed with them, but their stance is extremely firm. There is no room for negotiation. Spencer closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Peyton was never someone who made unreasonable scenes. She was methodical in everything she did, almost overly rational. For her to send something in this manner, at this specific time, meant it was absolutely not just a friendly greeting or the return of some trivial items. What could it be? Did it have something to do with the divorce? The $120 million? Or the fact that she had agreed to the divorce so readily? A question he had deliberately ignored for a long time suddenly surfaced in his mind with terrifying clarity. Wasn't Peyton's agreement to the divorce, even actively offering to leave the country forever, a little too clean, a little too smooth? Knowing Peyton's personality, no matter how rational she was, she shouldn't have been that submissive. "Mr. Davis?" The assistant prompted softly when Spencer remained silent for a long time. "I understand." Spencer opened his eyes, the whites bloodshot. "Tomorrow, you interface with the courier personally. Once you have the package, bring it directly to my prep room. Do not let anyone else touch it, and especially do not let Chloe or my mother see it." "Yes, I understand." After the assistant left, Spencer was the only one left in the study. He walked to the window, staring into the deep night outside. The dread in his heart spread rapidly, like ink dropped into a glass of water. That incoming package felt like a ticking time bomb strapped to what was supposed to be the most perfect moment of his life. He suddenly remembered the day of the divorce, when Peyton turned to walk away at the airport. That look in her eyes, so calm it bordered on cruel. In that gaze, there seemed to be no sadness, no resentment, only a resolve that saw through everything, perhaps even tinged with a faint, pitying decisiveness. At the time, he thought she was just putting on a brave face to protect her pride. But thinking back now, was that the cold apathy of someone watching a clown perform its final act? He shook his head violently, trying to banish these ominous thoughts. No, what could Peyton possibly do? She took her $120 million and was living her best life abroad. Why would she come back looking for trouble? Maybe it really was just some procedural paperwork that needed a signature or a final goodbye letter. He tried to convince himself with every excuse imaginable, but his heart kept racing uncontrollably. Tomorrow, no matter what, he had to open that package himself. No matter what was inside, he had to face it. 08. On the day of the wedding, the Hyatt Hotel felt like the center of the universe. Massive floral arches stood at the main entrance, and the red carpet stretched out for dozens of yards. Uniformed attendants flanked the walkway, respectfully welcoming every guest. The media zone was already packed with cameras and reporters. The luxury vehicles of socialites and business tycoons pulled up endlessly. The air was filled with the rustle of expensive fabrics and the hum of laughter, a scene of absolute grandeur. Inside the banquet hall, the lights shone like a galaxy, and the air was thick with a heady mix of high-end perfume and the sweet scent of fresh flowers. It was intoxicating. Spencer, dressed in an impeccably tailored Italian bespoke black tuxedo, stood on the side of the main stage. He maintained a polite smile, but only he knew that the dress shirt under his jacket was slightly damp with cold sweat. Chloe clung to his arm, wearing that expensive ivory satin wedding gown. Even with her heavy belly, she forced herself to stand tall. Her makeup was flawless, her smile radiant and blinding. As her gaze swept over the packed audience, her eyes overflowed with supreme satisfaction. Eleanor sat dead center at the head table, glowing with pride as she laughed and chatted with the matriarchs of other prominent families. Every word she spoke was either a compliment for Chloe or anticipation for her soon-to-be-born grandchildren. Below the stage, over 700 guests raised their glasses, cheers and congratulations echoing through the room. Everything was playing out according to the most perfect, extravagant script. Distinguished guests, please turn your attention to our beautiful stage. The MC's charismatic voice boomed through the top-tier sound system into every corner of the room. Next is the most sacred, most moving moment of tonight. Please welcome the bride and groom to exchange the rings that symbolize their eternal promise. Warm, romantic music swelled. A spotlight hit Spencer and Chloe, making their silhouettes look remarkably striking. A hostess stepped forward carrying a velvet-lined tray. On it sat two massive diamond rings side by side, refracting blinding light. Spencer reached out, preparing to pick up the woman's ring. Chloe eagerly extended her left hand, clad in a white lace glove, her eyes shimmering with excited, happy tears. At that exact moment, Spencer's assistant, a young man known for being steady and capable, appeared at the edge of the stage. He was pale as a ghost, sweat beading on his forehead, practically stumbling forward. His appearance was so abrupt, clashing violently with the dreamlike atmosphere, that it immediately drew the attention of many guests near the front. Whispers began rippling through the crowd like waves. The assistant was tightly clutching a thick, heavy manila envelope stamped with an international courier logo. He quickly walked up to Spencer, ignoring all protocol, leaned into his ear, and whispered in a frantic, suppressed voice, "Mr. Davis, the package is here. Their people insist you must sign for it right this second, otherwise." Spencer's pupils contracted violently. He felt Chloe's arm, linked through his, stiffen instantly. What kind of package has to be delivered right now? Chloe had heard him. She lowered her voice, her tone laced with obvious displeasure and annoyance. "Can't you see we're in the middle of the ceremony? Tell him to leave." The assistant didn't move. He just looked anxiously at Spencer, his lips trembling slightly. "Mr. Davis, they said these are legal documents regarding a critical disclosure. If you refuse or delay receipt, there could be unforeseeable and severe consequences. They strongly suggest you handle it immediately." Spencer's heart pounded so hard it felt like it would break his ribs. He glanced at the increasingly confused guests below the stage, then at Chloe, who was glaring in annoyance, and at his mother, who was frowning from the head table. He knew he couldn't hide from this. Peyton choosing this exact time and this exact place meant she wanted to leave him no escape. He had to face this publicly. He took a deep breath, gestured for the MC to pause, and then took the heavy manila envelope from the assistant's hands. The envelope was sealed tight. Several international shipping labels were plastered across it, the return address clearly stating, Sydney, Australia. In the sender's box was a printed name. Spencer recognized it immediately, Peyton. The entire banquet hall gradually quieted down. Everyone watched the unexpected drama on stage with curiosity, clueless as to what was happening. Eleanor stood up from her table, looking displeased. Chloe bit her lower lip hard, staring at the envelope, a powerful, inexplicable sense of dread rising in her chest. Spencer's fingers trembled slightly as he tore open the flap and pulled out a neatly stapled stack of documents. "Spencer? What's wrong? What is that?" Chloe's voice was laced with panic. Spencer snapped back to reality. A tidal wave of massive shock, sheer disbelief, and a suffocating, apocalyptic panic and regret crashed over him in an instant. His grip loosened. The stack of documents slipped, a few pages fluttering down to the stage floor. A groomsman standing nearby instinctively bent down to pick one up. His eyes skimmed the page, and he instantly froze in place, the color draining entirely from his face. Chloe snatched the paper out of his hand. Taking just one look, the smile and color vanished from her face without a trace, replaced by extreme shock and a sickly pallor. "No, this is impossible. This is a forgery. It's fake," she shrieked, her voice shrill and ear-piercing. The guests below finally realized something disastrous had happened. The commotion grew louder, many craning their necks trying to see exactly what was going on. Eleanor rushed over and snatched the documents from the floor. When she read the contents, it was as if she had been struck by lightning. She stumbled and nearly fell, looking up at Spencer with eyes full of sheer horror and demand for an explanation. But Spencer seemed incapable of hearing or seeing anything. The room spun. His vision went dark. The only things ringing in his ears were Chloe's hysterical shrieks and the escalating, buzzing chatter of the crowd below. The dignity he had fought so hard to maintain, the perfection he had meticulously crafted, in this very moment, shattered into dust by a document shipped from the Southern Hemisphere. And he finally understood the profound meaning behind Peyton's calm gaze before she left. It wasn't surrender. It was the opening act of a silent, lethal revenge. And now he was standing at the absolute dead center of all the humiliation, regret, and mockery. The wedding venue descended into total, unmanageable chaos. Spencer's fingers shook violently. He could barely hold onto the few weightless pages left in his hands. The hotel security guards were the first to react. They quickly surrounded the stage to maintain order, but the uproar had already spread through the guests. The sound of camera shutters and chaotic chatter drowned out the romantic background music. "Make way! Make way!" Several media reporters shoved their way to the front row, their lenses aimed at the scattered documents and the three people losing their minds on stage. Their faces were flushed with the thrill of capturing breaking news. Spencer violently snapped back to his senses. He knew he couldn't let the situation spiral any further. He had to run damage control immediately. He bent down, gathered the documents off the floor, and forced himself to look calm as he addressed the crowd. "Everyone, please quiet down. This is just a misunderstanding. Someone maliciously forged these documents to cause trouble. We will handle this immediately." But the moment the words left his mouth, Chloe shrieked hysterically, "It's not a misunderstanding. It's that bitch Peyton framing me. She's jealous that I'm pregnant with twins, jealous that I'm marrying Spencer, so she forged this garbage to ruin my wedding." Her screaming and crying didn't calm the storm. Instead, it only made everyone more curious about what was in those documents. The chatter from the crowd grew even louder. 09. Forged what? Looking at Chloe's reaction, that doesn't look fake. The groomsman picked it up, took one look, and went totally pale. It's definitely something massive. When Spencer divorced his ex, Peyton, the rumors were everywhere saying she couldn't have kids. Looks like there's way more to the story. Eleanor desperately tried to maintain her composure, shooting a glare at the MC. The MC immediately caught on, grabbed the microphone, and said, "Distinguished guests, we have a minor, unexpected situation. The ceremony will pause briefly. Please move to the adjacent lounge to enjoy some refreshments and tea. We will have this sorted out very shortly." But the guests had no intention of leaving. They stood rooted to the spot, craning their necks, and some even pulled out their phones to record video, eager to capture the dramatic scene. Seeing this, Spencer could only lower his voice and roar at his assistant, "Block the reporters. No photos. Hurry." The assistant scrambled with several staff members to block the press, but the reporters were prepared. Some hid behind the crowd to keep filming, while others were already on the phone, calling their news desks to break the story. Amidst the chaos, Eleanor snatched the documents from Spencer's hand and rapidly flipped through them. The more she read, the whiter her face became, and her hands began to shake uncontrollably. The very first page of the document was Peyton's quadruplet paternity test report. The testing facility was the most authoritative medical diagnostics center in Sydney. The report clearly stated, upon DNA comparison, the probability of paternity between the 4 fetuses carried by Peyton and Spencer Davis is 99.99%. A biological relationship is confirmed. Attached behind the report were Peyton's prenatal records, starting from the 10th week when the quadruplets were confirmed, all the way through subsequent checkups. Every single page bore the doctor's signature and the hospital's official seal. The dates were continuous, the data detailed. It was absolutely impossible for it to be a forgery. What made Eleanor completely break down was a letter tucked inside the file. It was handwritten by Peyton, the penmanship elegant, but carrying bone-chilling ice. "Spencer, Eleanor, Chloe. By the time you read this letter, you should already know the truth. I am not infertile. In fact, when you teamed up to betray me and force me to divorce, I was already pregnant with quadruplets. The reason I agreed to the divorce so readily and took the $120 million wasn't out of weakness. I wanted to make you pay the most agonizing price for your actions. For the sake of your so-called bloodline, for the sake of a pair of twins, you didn't hesitate to trample on a 6-year marriage and destroy someone who treated you with nothing but sincerity. Now, the heirs you so desperately craved are right here, while you personally discarded the 4 children who rightfully belong to the Davis family. Chloe keeps claiming she and Spencer are truly in love, but I also have the chat logs and audio recordings of how you two conspired to intentionally let Eleanor know about the pregnancy to force the divorce. These have already been forwarded simultaneously to the major shareholders and corporate partners of Davis Corporation. Your happiness was built on my suffering, and now it's time to return the favor 100-fold. Wishing you a happy wedding and a lifetime without peace. Consider this my final goodbye. Peyton." After finishing the letter, Eleanor's vision went black. She fainted on the spot. The housekeeper standing nearby rushed to catch her, screaming, "Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Davis, wake up." Chloe had also seen the contents of the letter. She collapsed onto the floor, muttering to herself, "No, impossible. How could she have those recordings?" She already left. Spencer stared at the ironclad paternity report and Peyton's letter. He felt his blood freeze, as if he were plummeting into a bottomless abyss. He finally realized that Peyton had set the trap from the very beginning. The divorce, the immigration, the payout, it was all part of her revenge. She didn't just want the money, she wanted to absolutely destroy him and make the Davis family the laughingstock of the entire city. And she had succeeded. 10. Eleanor was rushed to the hospital for emergency resuscitation. Chloe, due to extreme emotional distress and abdominal pain, was also hauled away in an ambulance. What was supposed to be a grand, romantic wedding instantly turned into a spectacular circus. Spencer stood alone on the ruined stage, facing the disdainful, curious, and schadenfreude-filled stares of the guests, along with the relentless questioning of the reporters. He felt there was no hole deep enough to hide in. "Mr. Davis, is Peyton's paternity report real? Do you really have quadruplets on the way? Mr. Davis, did you and Peyton divorce because Chloe inserted herself into your marriage? Did you know Peyton was pregnant before? Mr. Davis, Chloe claimed Peyton forged the documents. How do you explain this?" Spencer couldn't utter a single word. His mind was completely blank, leaving him entirely at the mercy of the flashing cameras and shouting journalists. His assistant stepped in front of him, desperately trying to do damage control. "Members of the press, it's not what you think. There's a misunderstanding here. We will issue a statement later. Please leave the premises and do not disrupt the hotel's operations." But the reporters weren't listening. They just kept swarming and shouting questions. At that moment, Spencer's phone began blowing up. Calls flooded in from company shareholders, business partners, relatives, and friends. The shareholders demanded to know why he had hidden something this massive and worried about the impact on the company's reputation and stock price. Partners stated they were reconsidering their collaborations, citing concerns about the Davis family's integrity. Relatives and friends called to gossip and verify the truth, driving him to the brink of insanity. With trembling fingers, he answered a call from one of the shareholders. A harsh reprimand immediately blasted through the speaker. "Spencer, what the hell are you doing? We all received the recordings and chat logs Peyton sent. You betrayed your own wife for a mistress and her unborn kids and forced her into a divorce. Now look what's happened. Everyone knows, and the stock is already tanking. You owe us an explanation right now. Uncle Miller, listen to me. It's not what it looks like." Spencer tried to defend himself, but he realized he had absolutely no defense. In the recordings, Chloe and Eleanor were heard plotting how to force Peyton into a divorce, how to fabricate the lie about her infertility, and how to buy her off with cash. In the chat logs, Chloe bragged to Spencer about her tactics, calling Peyton a gullible idiot who would be easy to handle. The evidence was ironclad. He couldn't refute a single word. Hanging up the phone, Spencer slumped down on the stage, staring at the wreckage in front of him, his heart consumed by regret and despair. He regretted losing his mind and betraying Peyton. He regretted listening to his mother and Chloe, driving away the woman who had truly loved him. He regretted not finding out about Peyton's pregnancy sooner, missing out on his 4 biological children. If only he had held his ground and rejected Chloe's advances. If only he had trusted Peyton and faced the surprise of pregnancy with her. If only he hadn't obeyed his mother's orchestration and defended his marriage. But there were no if-onlys. He had personally destroyed his own happiness, along with the reputation and future of the Davis family. Meanwhile, in Sydney, Peyton was sitting in the sunny garden of the private maternity hospital, basking in the warmth and gently stroking her slightly rounded belly. Her Chinese-American lawyer had just called to give her a play-by-play of everything that happened at the wedding: Eleanor fainting, Chloe being rushed to the hospital, Spencer's reputation ruined, and the Davis Corporation's stock plummeting. Peyton's face held no expression. There was no thrill of revenge, nor the slightest shred of pity. They deserved all of it. She picked up her phone and checked the news back in the States. The headlines were overwhelmingly dominated by the Davis family's wedding fiasco, each one more sensational and sarcastic than the last. Davis Corp heir's wedding turns to chaos. Ex-wife drops quadruplet paternity test bombshell. The scandal behind the elite marriage. Spencer Davis cheats, forces pregnant wife out, marries mistress. Chloe's home-wrecking pregnancy backfires. Ex-wife gets the ultimate revenge at the altar. Beneath every article, thousands of comments flooded in. Netizens universally condemned Spencer's betrayal, Eleanor's snobbery, and Chloe's shamelessness, while pouring out sympathy and support for Peyton. Peyton is so tragic. Married for 6 years only to be betrayed. Thank God she woke up, took the money, and got her revenge. Spencer is absolute trash. Threw away a perfectly good wife for a mistress. Looks like karma hit him hard. Chloe got exactly what she deserved. So arrogant about wrecking someone's home, and now she got slapped in the face. Let's see how she shows her face in public now. The Davis family is so toxic. Forced her to divorce because she wasn't pregnant when she actually was. Now that they know she's carrying quadruplets, their guts must be green with regret. Peyton turned off her phone, no longer interested in the circus back home. To her, those people were entirely in the past. The only thing she cared about now was the health of the 4 babies in her womb. A doctor walked over, handed her a glass of warm water, and smiled. "Miss Peyton, your test results are excellent. All 4 babies are growing perfectly healthy and your vitals are very stable." "Thank you, doctor." Peyton took the glass, revealing a gentle smile. It was the first time she had smiled genuinely since the divorce. Looking at the azure sky and crisp white clouds in the distance, her heart was filled with hope for the future. She would settle down in Sydney, safely deliver her 4 babies, and raise them well. She would use that $120 million to make secure investments, guaranteeing a worry-free life for herself and her children. She would pick up her old career, do the things she loved, and realize her own potential. She would never be haunted by her past relationships again, nor would she ever believe in the illusion of wealthy elite romance. She knew that only by becoming strong herself could she give her babies the best protection and live a truly happy life. 11. Back in the States, the fallout for the Davis family was still raging. Eleanor survived the emergency resuscitation, but the stroke left her paralyzed. Confined to her bed, she could no longer care for herself. She spent every day steeped in regret, murmuring Peyton's name and crying over the 4 unborn great-grandchildren she would never see. But the damage was irreversible. Chloe, after being rushed to the hospital, went into premature labor due to extreme emotional shock and delivered the boy-girl twins. However, the twins didn't bring her any luck. Instead, they plunged her into an even deeper nightmare. Plagued by scandals and fighting to save his company, Spencer had no time to care for her or the children. He grew to resent her, blaming her for destroying his entire life. The rest of the Davis family, disgusted by her actions, treated her with icy contempt, completely dropping the fawning and flattery they had shown her before. What broke her completely was the paternity test on the twins. It proved they shared absolutely zero DNA with Spencer. As it turned out, while Chloe was sleeping with Spencer, she was also involved with other men. She didn't even know who the real father was. When she coincidentally got pregnant with twins, she used the opportunity to force Peyton out and secure her spot in the Davis empire. When this news leaked, Chloe's reputation was annihilated. She was thrown out of the Davis family and left to raise the 2 children alone in poverty, enduring the glares and spit of everyone around her. As for Davis Corporation, the scandal destroyed its reputation. The stock price hit rock bottom, investors pulled out, and contracts were canceled left and right, plunging the company into a fatal financial crisis. Desperate to save the business, Spencer ran around begging for help, hitting dead ends everywhere. The friends and business partners who used to constantly surround him now avoided him like the plague, terrified of being dragged down with him. He lived every day under crushing pressure and regret. His hair fell out in clumps, he looked incredibly haggard, and his former arrogant, high-flying demeanor was gone forever. Countless times, he wanted to contact Peyton, beg for her forgiveness, and try to win back her and their 4 children. But he didn't have the courage. He knew he had shattered Peyton's heart beyond repair. There was no going back. 12. 1 year later, Sydney. Peyton safely delivered the quadruplets, 2 boys, 2 girls, all healthy and beautiful. She named them Haven, Serenity, Asher, and Felix, hoping for their lives to be peaceful, serene, happy, and healthy. She bought a sprawling house with a large garden in Sydney, hired professional maternity nurses and nannies, and poured her love into raising the 4 children. She also founded a charity foundation dedicated to helping women and children dealing with marital betrayal and financial hardship. She used her own experiences and resources to help those who truly needed it. Her life was rich and fulfilling, surrounded by the laughter of her children every day, her face always radiating a warm, gentle smile. Meanwhile, the Davis family back in the States had completely collapsed. Unable to recover from the crisis, Davis Corporation filed for bankruptcy. Spencer went from a wealthy, elite heir to a penniless nobody. He worked odd jobs every day just to make ends meet, while also caring for his paralyzed mother. His life was unimaginably bleak. He often thought of Peyton. He remembered their 6 years together, her gentleness, kindness, and virtue, and his own sheer stupidity and betrayal. He spent countless nights weeping bitterly in the dark, consumed by remorse, but he could never turn back the clock. One day, Spencer saw an article about Peyton online. In the photo, Peyton was holding one baby, surrounded by 3 others. Her smile was brilliant, her aura elegant. Her charity foundation had helped countless people and was receiving widespread public praise. The woman in the photo was more beautiful, confident, and poised than ever before, as if time had never left a mark on her. Looking at the photo of Peyton and their 4 beautiful children, Spencer's heart was hollowed out by endless regret and envy. He knew Peyton had completely walked out of the shadows of the past and was living the happy life she always deserved. And he would be trapped in the prison of his past mistakes forever, eating the bitter fruit he had grown himself. He pulled out his phone, staring at the number he had memorized by heart but never dared to dial. His finger hovered over the call button for a long time, but ultimately, he put the phone down. He knew he didn't deserve to disrupt Peyton's life anymore. He could only silently wish her well in his heart, praying for her and the children to be happy forever. As for himself, he would spend the rest of his life doing penance for his sins. A few more years passed. Peyton's 4 children had grown into bright, energetic, and adorable kids. Her charity foundation continued to expand, gaining significant influence both domestically and internationally. She had also picked up her old career, becoming a renowned designer with a booming business. Her life was practically flawless, and she had no shortage of excellent suitors, but she never remarried. She felt that having her 4 children by her side, a career she loved, and the fulfillment of helping others was more than enough happiness for one lifetime. One afternoon, Peyton took the kids to the park and unexpectedly ran into a Chinese-American woman. It was one of her college classmates. Seeing Peyton and the 4 beautiful children, her classmate was stunned. She hurried over to say hi. "Peyton, is that really you? It's been so long. Are all 4 of these yours? They are so cute." "Yeah, they're all mine," Peyton smiled and nodded. Her classmate grabbed Peyton's hand, sighing with emotion. "I never imagined you'd be doing this well. We all heard about your divorce from Spencer, and we were so angry for you. Later, we heard the Davis family went bankrupt. Spencer is living in misery, and Chloe got exactly what she deserved. Karma really doesn't miss." Peyton gave a faint smile and said, "It's all in the past. Now, I just want to take good care of my kids and live my own life." Looking at Peyton's calm and graceful demeanor, her classmate said genuinely, "You are truly amazing. After going through all that, you're living such an incredible life. When you took that $120 million, some people called you greedy, but I knew you deserved every penny. You didn't let them destroy you. Instead, you used that money to start over and help so many people. I have so much respect for you." Peyton gently stroked one of her children's hair and said, "Money is just a worldly possession. What matters is your mindset. When you hit rock bottom, instead of complaining and drowning in misery, it's better to fight and change your own destiny. I'm so glad I didn't choose to cling on, cry, and make a scene back then. I chose to walk away with my dignity and then, in my own way, built a completely different life." Her classmate nodded. "You're absolutely right. Thinking about it now, Spencer was such a fool. Throwing away a woman as amazing as you for a mistress. Ending up like that is exactly what he deserves." Peyton didn't respond to that. She simply watched the silhouettes of her children running and laughing in the sunlight, a blissful smile gracing her face. She knew the wounds of the past had fully healed, and the days ahead would only grow brighter and more beautiful. And those who had hurt her had received their rightful punishment. The most powerful counterattack in this world isn't crying, screaming, or seeking petty revenge. It is living a better, happier life than the people who tried to break you. Peyton did exactly that. She proved through her own journey that no matter how devastating the betrayal and setbacks, as long as you never give up on yourself, you will always walk out of the darkness and step into your own sunshine.